Hi, this is Sandy with Daywalker Customs Embroidery, or Cheslea as you know me, and we're here to do the video for the mug rugs. And this is using the designs from Embroidery Library called Coffee Shop Critters Design Pack. There are 6 of them in the design, and you can get them at Embroidery Library, which is at the link at the top, www.emblibrary.com. I'm also going to be using the gnome set that we got a couple of weeks ago as we walk through these videos. But let's go ahead and prepare our designs. So for preparing our designs, we're going to use our design inside of a circle that we're going to create to do the mug rug. And as you can see, I have my little sloth here and my circle that I've created, and this is going to be our end result here, and I'm going to show you how to get to this. I actually use Hatch software by Wilcom. You can use Embird, you can use PE Design, you can use whatever software that you have and just basically follow the steps that we're going to outline here. But I'm going to start with a new design file, so it gives me just my blank screen. I can turn on my hoop or my grid if I want those on. It's up to you. One of the first things that I do is actually define my work area because I'd like to see what space I've got, you know, to make sure it's going to fit within that space, but also to give me something to center to. So I'm going to make this 7 by 7 because I know that my mug rugs are 6 inches in diameter, 6 by 6. So this is my, this green box here is my, what I call my layout or work area. And that's what I will be aligning to. So the next thing that we do is open up the design, and I actually have it here from Embroidery Library. This is the little sloth guy. And I am actually going to use Control A to select the entire file, and then Control C to copy him and bring him over and put him on this space that I created here. So Control V, and now he's on the space. But you notice he's not centered. So I'm going to do Control A again to select everything, and then I'm going to do this Auto Center to Workspace. And now he's centered. But the one thing that you can see is that he's still too big. Okay, so we're going to have to size him a little bit. And the other thing I'm going to do is kind of flip him around here so that he's kind of the orientation that I want him to be, which is this way. So now I'm going to bring him down in size, and I can tell you just from the experience, I brought him down 4 times, 90% 4 times. So I just go up here and I type in 90 because I want him to go 10% at a time. And I know some people say don't, you know, don't change the size of your designs more than 10%. And it is a risk. You're going to have to play with it and see how it stitches out. These guys happen to be fine reducing it that far. And now you can see he's 5.1 by 3.8 in size, and that'll fit nicely within the ring. So again, he's not centered, so I'm going to select him and center him to the workspace. So now he's centered. And I know he's about the right size because, and you'll find out through experimentation, you know, what size you need him to be once you start doing your circle, the ring that's going to be on the outside. So then from digitize, I actually go to the circle icon. And if I was creating this for the very first time, I'd want to get myself a pretty good size circle and then choose this way, get me a good size circle. And you can hold down your control key to make sure it's a flat circle. Now, as you can see, it filled it. Okay, I don't want this thing to be a fill. I want it to actually be an outline. And so I changed it to outline, and then I want it to be a satin stitch as well. Okay, now at this point I can change its color, I can do whatever I want to do to it. I can see what size it is. It's actually about 5.8 by 5.9. So I want this to go a little bit bigger, so I'm actually going to increase the size a little bit. Now it's too big. Let me go back down and then just increase it by, let's say, 105. Let's see what happens. And that's about right, about 6 inches. You want it to be around 6 inches across, so 6.1 is a good size. And then I can take it and also take it to my layout, and then see, this is how I like this because it auto centers to the work area. And then it's around him. So by auto centering both the design and the circle, I make sure that they're aligned properly, on that workspace. So that workspace works out really well. And you can see it fits here within my, I have a Mighty Hoop 8x13, so it fits just fine in my hoop. And so at this point right now, he looks ready to go. And I would say that he's ready to take to the machine and stitch out. You can tweak this if you want a little bit. You could do Control A to select everything. Hold down your Control key to deselect the circle and just select him. And then you can move him around a little bit if you wanted to adjust him slightly so that he's kind of more where you want him to be. However you want to do that, you can play with it. When you're ready and you feel like, yep, this is good, you go to File, Save Design As, and I'm going to call him Sloth Mug Rug. That's going to be his name. And then once I'm done with that, I also want to output it because I need to get it into PEZ format. So it also calls it Sloth Mug Rug, which I'm going to save. And now I have a PEZ file that I can take to my machine and begin to stitch out. When you do subsequent ones of these, I would take this circle and I would copy it from design to design. And that way you're sure that the circles are always going to be consistently the same size. And then all of your mug rugs will end up being the same size when you cut them out. So that's how you prepare the designs to go to the machine. Thanks. In preparing to stitch out the designs that we just prepared in our software, I'm going to use my 8x13 magnetic hoop called the Mighty Hoop. And so I've cut a piece of stabilizer here that fits this. And then I'm also going to use a little bit of 505 spray and put my fabric on here. So I want my fabric to be big enough to cover that as well. And then a trick that I've kind of learned with this magnetic hoop is in order to avoid pinching fingers, I kind of put the ruler in place so it doesn't just grab the whole thing, but it'll grab part of this. And then it also allows me to get a little flexibility to straighten or tighten the fabric a little as I'm going around. And then I use this and kind of pull it out like this, which also kind of tightens it so that I can get a nice good tight hooping here. And then we're going to take it over to the machine. Okay, so I have a Baby Lock Valiant. So I'm going to be demonstrating loading the designs on this. And so the first thing I'm going to do is pick my first design. I'm actually going to put 2 designs on this stitch out. So here's my first guy, and I'm going to set this, and then I'm going to move him over because I want to put 2 designs on the same stitch out. So I'm going to add the second one now, and I'm going to use him as my second one, and I'm going to set this and then move him over. So now I have both of them and they fit within my hoop. I'm going to end edit at that point. And then I'm also going to check to make sure that it will fit within my Mighty Hoop. So hold on and I'll be right back when I do that. Now that I've verified that it will fit in my hoop and it's not a problem, I'm going to go ahead and go to this one right here, which is where I'm going to put my pause in. I want it to pause before the circle, and then right after the circle on the first one, and then before the circle on the last one. So I looked at my color chart and I know that that is number 9. So I'm going to choose number 9, and you can see that that's my circle, and I'm going to put a pause there because I want it to stop before it stitches out the circle. And then I'm going to pause it after because I want to trim, and then I'm going to go down to the very bottom and again pause before the second circle. So I have all my pauses in place, and then I'm ready to go. At this point then I'm going to go in and I'm going to set my colors to be the colors that I want, and I'm going to begin stitching out, and we'll be back as soon as the first one is stitched out. Now that the design has stitched out just the design portion, I'm ready to put the stabilizer and batting on the back to finish that. So I'm going to flip it over here, and I'm going to take a piece of batting, and then I'm going to spray this with some 505 spray to make sure it'll stick good and make sure it's going to cover that whole area where the circle is going to be. And then I use some leftover batting that I've cut off from other projects so I can, or stabilizer, so I can save this batting also, but stabilizer as well. And press that on the back, flip it over, make sure it's nice and smooth, and then take it back to the machine to do the outer ring. Okay, once we have finished stitching the circle, the ring around the back of this, we just want to trim a little bit because we're going to do the second mug rug in the same hooping. So we just want to make sure that this is out of the way. So we're going to just trim a little bit along the edge here so that it'll be away from where the other mug rug is going to stitch. And once that's done stitching, I will come back. Okay, as you can see, both of the mud rugs have finished stitching out here, so we're going to take them out of the hoop and trim them. So be sure not to pinch your fingers if you're using a magnetic hoop like I am. I'll lay that aside. And the first thing I'm going to do is separate them, cut them apart. So I'm just going to cut down the middle, being careful not to cut any of the edges of the satin stitch. We don't want to cut that. And then we're going to take and cut each one out around the satin stitch, and we're going to do it as carefully as we possibly can because you do not want to trim the satin stitch itself. It'll start to unfray then, and then you'll have to do it over because this won't hold together. So I'm just going to go right along the edge, just as close as I could possibly get without going into that satin stitch. So you're going to see a little bit of the batting, or of the top fabric, and a little bit of the batting and such kind of sticking out here on the top. But if you get close enough and you do it real careful, you know, it's pretty smooth, so it doesn't look too bad. So we're going to just keep doing that and cut both of these out. Sometimes when you're trimming these, you have to kind of turn it over and then kind of put your scissors at an angle so you're not trimming the actual threads, but just kind of trim around the edge here just to kind of smooth it off a little bit. Sometimes you need to just kind of do that along the edge just to kind of smooth it. And you might have to do it from both sides, but like here, this is sticking out just a little bit, but you know, you just barely trim. And again, being very careful not to go into that satin stitch, and then once you get it all trimmed up, then your little mug rug is done. And isn't he cute? And so through the process of working with the gnomes and also the process of working with the coffee shop critters, we have completed a set of each. So I've got 3 of the gnomes here on the bottom row, and then the next 3 rows up are the larger mug rugs with the coffee shop critters. So there are the mug rugs, and we're complete. And thanks again for joining this video. And I hope you'll come back and visit again and look for more of my videos. Thanks. Have a great day.